Victor Von Doom has varied over the years, much like pretty much every comic book character. In every iteration, he's a genius specializing in all forms of science and sorcery, who speaks in the third person, dresses up like an evil robot in a cape, who can pretty much do anything. He's basically the ultimate antagonistic force. So what exactly is the problem? Well, he's got some interesting flaws. Co-creator Jack Kirby described him as paranoid, and that he is a perfectionist. This leads to Doom's desperation to be better than those around him at pretty much anything and everything. And maybe that's the first problem. After all, his perfectionism could actually be a major weakness. After all, isn't Tony Stark both of those things as well? Paired with other elements, this could hinder his character depending on how the MCU handles it. But Doom's character isn't the only potential problem. As far as the broader story beats go, it seems likely that Avengers Doomsday will end with a cliffhanger, leading us into Secret Wars, which will no doubt take a lot of inspiration from both the 1984 and 2015 variations on the title. It could even be that Doom defeating the Beyonders is the grand finale of Doomsday, and heck, with the multiverse at stake, perhaps the Beyonders will be subbed out with Loki. If there's a problem here with the information we've got so far, it's that I do fear there's a chance that Doomsday feels more Frankensteined together than Secret Wars. I have this sneaking suspicion, based on the comics themselves, that Dr. Doom was always meant to be the surprise villain for Secret Wars, and that he would have been introduced in Kang Dynasty more or less at the last minute. He may have even been envisioned as Robert Downey Jr., but it makes sense that the central antagonist from Secret Wars would show up in, well, Secret Wars. It could even be that the Beyonders would have originally been replaced by Kang, and the big reveal would be that they've been getting played the whole time by Dr. Doom. Now, I'm just spitballing, of course, but point is that there is a chance that way more of Doomsday, formerly the Kang Dynasty, will have to be re-envisioned than Secret Wars. Narrative problems are one thing, but sometimes so is the casting. We are, of course, dealing with the multiverse, and it could be that Robert Downey Jr.'s take is actually a variant of a later Dr. Doom, played by a separate actor. After all, we're looking at a film that was originally meant to center on Kang the Conqueror. It could very well be that some of those story beats survived the drafts when Doomsday was originally Kang Dynasty. Of course, that's a pretty simplistic idea, so I did what I always do, and I looked to Reddit for other opinions and factoids. Take his mask, for example. A fun fact about Dr. Doom is that Jack Kirby drew what he felt Doom was hiding under the mask, and that was a tiny scar. As such, a precedent has been set for whoever's under the mask to have a relatively clear face. In more recent years, including in 2015's Secret Wars arc, Doom has been portrayed as far more physically scarred, but I for one think the more narcissistic version works better, and explains why we'll inevitably get a clear look at RDJ as the character. It also just seems unlikely that Marvel would spend the big bucks on a performance hindered by a metal mask for all 5 or 6 hours that make up Doomsday and Secret Wars. Now, delving beyond simple facts, I came across and read a lot of theories. One of them suggests that Doom will be introduced as a separate actor in Fantastic Four, and in the end, transfer his own mind across the multiverse and take control of the body of Tony Stark. Several theories postulate that the Tony of the 616 universe was adopted from Latveria, and that this Doom is the variant who was never adopted. Yet another argues that the Starks must flee to Latveria for whatever reason, and there they change their name to Von Doom and have a son named Victor. It gets kinda silly. My personal favorite theory is that it's somehow an alternate universe version of Dr. Doom who goes through the same events as Tony does in the main 616 universe. However, the events would change slightly. For example, instead of creating Ultron, Victor creates Doombots. Why this would require RDJ in the role is kinda hard to square away, but it's a fun idea. There's also the what if option. Basically, there's a little what if comic entitled Iron Man Demon in an Armor that posits a world where Tony Stark and Victor Von Doom are college roommates. In order to increase his resources, Doom tricks Tony into partaking in a little mind swap. You know, like every college student does with their mind swap technology that they develop in college. They wind up in different places, literally and figuratively, with Tony now poor and trapped in Latveria, and Doom given access to the immense wealth that would have otherwise gone to Tony. Doom even orchestrates Tony's dad's death for good measure. Of course, there are still the same brilliant minds, and while Doom utilizes his new resources to create Stark Universal, Stark, again in Doom's body, starts Doom Industries. Both wind up creating their own suits of armor and competing with one another, eventually leading to a battle which Tony wins. In a fun twist, Tony decides to keep Doom's body on account of the fact that Doom has ruined the Stark name, meaning that the story ends with Tony staying Victor Von Doom, an honorable man. It's a fun, albeit kinda stupid what-if story. It's also almost definitely not what we'll be getting for our explanation as to why Tony Stark is suddenly Victor Von Doom, but it's an option. However, there is a slight chance that I'm wrong, and this is more or less exactly what's going on. After all, Robert Downey Jr. has stated that he's playing Victor Von Doom himself, not Tony Stark. This could be a clever way of getting around any inquiries about which version of Doom he's playing. After all, a Doom in the body of a Tony Stark variant would still be Victor Von Doom. There's also the chance that I'm simply wrong and overthinking this, and that Marvel really is just going to have RDJ back to play Doom, perhaps even without taking off his iconic mask. Perhaps it really is just a way of getting the man, the myth, the legend back in the MCU saddle without messing with the perfect continuity around Tony's death. It could be a means of bringing a beloved player back into the fold without retconning one of the most heartbreaking moments in the MCU's history. It's entirely possible, but also a pill I personally find hard to swallow. If there's one potential problem with Dr. Doom, it's right there. Beyond that, I can't say any of the theories I've seen, even those posted on ScreenRant's own website, hold enough water for me to take them very seriously. If I was a more negative person, I'd say this was proof that the idea can't work, that it's just a cash grab of epic proportions by a desperate studio. Even that, however, feels off. There's something about the fact that Kevin Feige and his team specifically chose RDJ to play Dr. Doom that leads me to believe that whatever the truth is, it's actually something no one, or at least no one as far as I've read, has come up with. That could and probably will change after the release of Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four First Steps. Either which way, as pessimistic as I can sometimes be with the MCU, I think this is such a big, expensive swing that there's no way the powers that be haven't put together a plan to make it work. Now, call me a sucker, but that's what it feels like. We'll just have to wait and see. But what do you think? Is there a problem with Dr. Doom that I'm just missing? Let me know in the comments, and thank you for watching Screen Rant.